Fantastic. Well, so I feel a little bit awkward about telling journalists what to do, but like, fine, I can take this. So for what it's worth, I would say, and obviously this doesn't apply to kind of a lot of journalists, but I think there's a huge amount of pressure on journalists these days to look for outrage. And I think the problem slightly that has been kind of created for us with social media is that if you want to find somebody, if you're on kind of a tight deadline and you're being asked to find stories about a backlash to something or people being upset or outraged about something, you'll find it on Twitter, you'll find it on social media. Like every possible expression of emotion under the sun is there. Yeah. So if you want to find outrage, you'll find it. But I think, I quite often find stories, talking about, backlash against or outrage at or, horror at and whatever.
Yeah, we could call it outrage confirmation. Like you have confirmation bias, then it's maybe confirmation outrage. Yeah.
Exactly. So you can find a way to support any possible premise for any story if you look hard enough. But those stories where you start looking into it and you realize that it's based on 2 or 3 tweets.
Yeah.
I think, and I would imagine that 99% of the time, the journalists who are doing stories like that don't want to be doing them anyway, are kind of doing them under pressure and would much rather have time to go out and write something balanced. But the economics of digital journalism, purely digital journalism, when it's kind of driven by advertising and clicks, mean that you need to, A, put out a ton of content, and easily, this is an easy way to do it, and B, talk about people being angry and project outrage, because that's one of the things that kind of cuts through. But I think wherever possible, if you can resist that, if you can go to your editors and say,
will this be the advice, Rob?
Yeah, this is fine.
It's constructive. Yeah.
This is the outrage. Yeah. Story built on a premise.
Stop the outrage. Stop following the outrage and confirm the outrage. Yeah.
And just sort of, resist any story that people are pushing you to do, which is based on a couple of people being angry on Twitter, because everybody's angry on Twitter, so it's it's not really a big deal. And then in terms of, have you got a thing for start doing it journalists? Have you got a logo for that as well?
No, I'm sorry. No, it's stop it. I wanted to start with outrage because that works on digital, Rob. As you.
Very good. So I think in terms of like do it more. And this, obviously, this is kind of it's not always possible. Is I do think that there's a tremendous value in taking the longer view on stories. So the kind of number of times that I think that the experiences of our present day can be informed by things that have happened to us before. So we did a slow journalism night at Somerset House in January, and it was the first of what was going to be like a series of slow journalism nights throughout the year. And we started with Ian Hislop, who's the editor of Private Eye, kind of much respected editor, particularly in the UK. And he was saying exactly this. He was saying, every time, for example, there's a royal story, and everybody says, nothing like this has ever happened before. Oh my God, the monarchy is about to collapse. This is unprecedented. He said, just look back. Look back 10 years or 20 years, you'll have found much madder, worse things going on in the royal family. And look back even further than that and you'll find more. So
what would be your most sort of pragmatic or practical advice? Because I can imagine that a lot of maybe the younger journalists, but also journalists with a lot of experience would say, no, but my editor-in-chief doesn't want me to take my time because we need to put out these publications, these articles, these videos.
Well, I would say that the medium is different from the message in this case. So, I mean,
McLuhan right here, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, I wish that was mine. But like in this instance, you could be working on a lovely kind of deeply researched piece. So for example, if you were doing a piece, I just got pitched a fascinating piece about the Spanish flu.
Yeah.
1918, and somebody who's really kind of gone to town on the detail and the history and research. Really exciting, really interesting piece. Now that is the sort of piece that could go out on any given day with any given hook during this pandemic. You could just put a news hook on it, or you could look at things that are coming up in the future and that have anniversaries of 25 or 50 or 100 years, whatever it might be. So that's fine. It doesn't have to mean that you can't put it out in a fast format, of course. But I would say to them, if your editor says, I don't want any stories that provide context or perspective from the past. I literally only want to go on stuff that's happening now. Firstly, think about getting a new job. And secondly, come and pitch me, because that's the sort of story that I commission day in, day out. And I really am fascinated by.
That's an interesting offer, Rob.
Yeah. I think there's also, I'm very open to it. I think So I think in our FAQs, there's my email address on our site. You know, and we're very open to pitches from new authors at all times. But you know, I think there's a market for it as well. I do think that people are A, interested by the past, and B, interested in anything that humans have been through before that sheds light on what we might be going through now.
Yeah. Well, that's a really interesting piece of advice, Rob. So thank you.